So here we go. Let's talk about solving some complex math problems that would either take quite a bit of time on your calculator or quite a bit of looking on Google to find the right website to help you solve some of these problems. The first thing I want to start with is this prompt that's very practical for my specific use case. If I want to create an online course in 30 days with 65 lessons and 17 learning exercises, how many lessons do I have to complete per day? And separately, how many learning exercises do I need to complete every single day in order to finish everything in the 30-day window? So we have our answers here, and what ChatGPT started with was the formula that it used and then the answers to the equation. So it's telling me that I'm going to need to complete 2.17, so it shows the decimal, of lessons per day to hit my 30-day window. And for the learning exercises, out of 17 for the 30 days, I need to complete half a day or one every 2 days to hit my goal. I could then put this into my calendar, put it into my schedule, and use these numbers to make sure that I hit my goals. And for the next equation, let's do this. If I want to make 300K this year, how much money do I have to make per day excluding weekends and holidays? There are online calculators that you can find that will do something similar, but having these answers all in one place with your past conversations logged adds a really easily way to find the information that you looked up in the past and just keeps everything organized in one place. So here's our answer. For 300,000 with 365 days per year, I would have to make $821 per day. And with the non-working days subtracted from this, aka weekends and holidays, the amount that I would have to make per day is a whopping number of $1,096. And to take this even one step further, you could ask ChatGPT, what is the best way to make $1,000 per day? It'll pop out answers and you can further refine and get more different ideas that you might not already be using to hit your goals. So just another reason to use ChatGPT over some of the other tools out there. Now let's go on to our next prompt. What is the formula to convert USD to Euro with a Google Sheets expression? So this is a slightly different than our previous equations, but it's going to actually give us the code and the way to do this inside of Google Sheets. So that's pretty sweet. It gave us the code and it gave us the way to more effectively use Google Sheets. And I want to add one last example with Excel. So what is an Excel expression to calculate a depreciating asset at 23% depreciation per year? And just like that, ChatGPT gave us the formula to use inside of Excel, and it also gave us an example. So it says, let's say you have an asset that initially costs $10,000 and you want to calculate its value after 5 years of depreciation at 23% per year. The formula would be right here, we have it. And this would return a value of $2,997.11, which represents the value of the asset after 5 years of depreciation at 23% per year. So this is an excellent tool for coming up with formulas for other tools that you can use to solve these more complex math problems while still saving time. Now let's dive in using this tool to compare and contrast two separate topics, and let's see what we learn. So what I'm going to do is start with this prompt. Write a 2-paragraph essay comparing Buddhism and Hinduism. Please highlight the main differences and similarities. So here is our 2-paragraph essay comparing these two things. Buddhism and Hinduism are two major religions that originated in India. Although they share similarities, they also have significant differences in their beliefs and practices. One of the most significant differences between the two is the concept of the self. In Hinduism, the self or soul is believed to be eternal and part of a larger universal soul or Brahman. In contrast, Buddhism rejects the concept of a permanent self or soul and emphasizes the impermanence and interconnectedness of all things. So we can elaborate on this, we can ask for more information, we can ask it to expand on the soul or on one of the specific belief systems about the yoga that these different backgrounds practice, or anything else in this article. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with the comparing and contrasting. Now what I want to do is do a completely different example where I take two Amazon items that are similar because they both are related to transportation and getting places, but they're two very different ways of going about it. There's a different price point and there's just different overall differences about it. So let's paste these into ChatGPT. I'm going to start a new chat. Please compare the similarities and differences between these two items. I'm going to move it down, paste the first one, go to the next, copy the link, come back, hit enter, and now what it's going to do is break down what the difference is and what the similarities are. And this is pretty cool. This breakdown is on point. ChatGPT says both of these items are electric-powered vehicles that can be used for transportation, but they have a few key differences. The form factor, the Hurley Mini Swell is a bike, while the Team G, these are funny names, H5 is a skateboard. This means that the Mini Swell is designed to be ridden while seated, and the H5 is designed to be ridden while standing. It goes on to talk about the speed. The max speed of the Mini Swell is 20 miles an hour, while the H5 is 22 miles an hour. The range, which is incredibly important, one is 45 miles on a single charge, and one is 11. The price, which is pretty obvious, and then the different features. Both the Mini Swell and the H5 has similar features such as LED lights, wireless remote controls. However, the Mini Swell also has a 7-speed gearbox, which allows the user to adjust the level of assistance provided by the electric motor, and then it gives a summary at the end. So I know from personal experience, going through and looking at Amazon items, for example, trying to find out which one you want to buy takes a ton of brain power and time of having two tabs open on your web browser to find which one is going to be most well suited for you. And just in a few seconds, ChatGPT took all that time needed and gave us a very practical and concise list to help us make better decisions. So we just went through our two examples of this tool breaking things down and comparing and contrasting them. So what I want to do is go to our Buddhism versus Hinduism example and ask ChatGPT to now write this in the style of a New York Times article. And what it's going to do is going to take the same information and remix it in a way that's written in this new style. So in our first example, the second paragraph starts off, another major difference between the two religions is their approach to the pursuit of enlightenment. In Hinduism, the path to enlightenment involves following the religious and moral duties assigned to one's caste, as well as practicing yoga and meditation. In the New York Times version, it sounds like this. One of the most noticeable differences between the two religions is the concept of the self. In Hinduism, the self or soul is considered eternal and a part of a larger universal soul known as Brahman. In contrast, Buddhism rejects the idea of a permanent self or soul, instead emphasizing the impermanence and interconnectedness of all things. This belief forms the basis of Buddhist teachings on the nature of reality and the path to enlightenment. So the differences went from a more generic writing style to a little bit more of a stylized sound. Now I want to take things a step further by saying, now write this article in the style of Jack Kerouac. Perfect. And I like this example much more because the differences aren't as subtle. Jack Kerouac was a rock star poet in the 60s, and the way ChatGPT decided to write it out was, hey man, let me tell you about these religions, Buddhism and Hinduism. They're both really cool, you dig? They both come from ancient India and have been around for like forever. And sure, they've got some similarities, like this whole idea of samsara and karma, but they're also different in some pretty trippy ways. So this is a better example that I really like that shows once you have some information from ChatGPT, you can then remix it and change the tonality by asking it to reproduce the information in a way that's specific to someone else's style. This lesson is about language and learning with ChatGPT. So for this lesson, I had ChatGPT generate a list of 10 random words. Now, write the definition, an example of the word being used, and the Spanish translation for each of the words. If you were actually learning a language, you would probably have a list of words given to you already. So here we have each of the words defined, an example of it being used, and the Spanish translation. Great, now you can take one of these words. I'm going to take number 9, for example. Tell me about the grammar rules and pronunciation for this word. Awesome. So here we have the grammar rules for this word, the pronunciation, and how to use it. And I can see it's pronounced here etereo. Hope I'm doing that okay. The word etereo is an adjective in Spanish that means ethereal or heavenly. It refers to something that is extremely delicate, light, and beautiful in a way that seems too perfect for this world. In terms of grammar, it is a single masculine adjective, which means it agrees in gender and number with the noun it modifies. As a totally new example, I'm going to ask ChatGPT, I am learning French. Will you have a conversation with me in French and give me feedback on my grammar? So ChatGPT responded, Bien sûr, je serai heureux de converser avec vous en français. It's saying, yes, I'd be happy to talk to you in French. So then I said, hello, how's it going? My name is Benza. Here it responded, Bonjour Benza, ça va bien, merci, et toi? Said, good, I'm doing good, how are you? And now it's giving me some feedback. And as you can see here, it even responded in English, so I can definitely understand what it was saying. And it says, regarding your French, here are a few corrections to help improve your grammar. Comment ça va should be comment ça va, perfect. This is the correct way to ask, how are you in French? Je m'appelle should be je m'appelle. I spelled that totally wrong. This is the correct way to say my name is. Remember to capitalize the first letter of your name as well. Well, that's true in every language. You used je suis triste correctly to say I am sad, great job. That is pretty impressive. ChatGPT will respond to you in the language you want to learn, give you the English translation, and then also give you feedback on how you responded to it on your grammar and your spelling. This lesson is about DIY and home improvement enhanced by ChatGPT. It's a Saturday, I have some free time, I want to get crafty, but I just have no idea how to do that or what to even get started with. So, what can I build with 4 cardboard boxes, nails, screws, red and blue paint, a 2x4, an old wooden box, and a piece of pipe I have at home? These are just some random objects I have lying around my house, and I would love to put them to some use, but I just don't know what to do with them. Okay, so with the materials you have at home, there are a number of creative things you can build depending on your interest and skill level. Here are some ideas: a bookshelf, and it tells me sort of how to do that, a birdhouse, a storage bin, and a desk organizer. I can ask ChatGPT to expand on any of these and say, give me step-by-step instructions on how to build a birdhouse or how to build a bookshelf. And if those instructions weren't detailed enough, I could pick any of the points in any of the steps it gave me and say, please expand on step 1 or step 2 or step 3, etc., etc. So you, from a list of random objects in your house, can have ChatGPT help you construct something from scratch. Let's say you have a different kind of question for DIY home life. How do I reset my circuit breaker? And there we have it. Here is the instructions on how to reset a circuit breaker. Identify the tripped circuit breaker, turn off all electrical devices, reset the breaker. To reset the breaker, first switch off the tripped circuit breaker to the full off position, then switch it back to the on position, test the circuit, and there you have it. For a last example, let's have ChatGPT help us install an electrical outlet. Step-by-step guide to install an electrical outlet. It's important to exercise caution and follow safety guidelines.
Materials and tools. This is really cool. Right off the bat, it's giving us a list of things we're going to need. Here, a 7-step guide on how to install an electrical outlet. From turning off the power in the area, planning the location, installing the box, installing the cable, connecting the wires, installing the output, and testing the outlet. This is truly incredible, and I hope you see how you can use ChatGPT to help you in your DIY projects.
For watching the video till the end. Please leave your thoughts below so we can discuss more about the topic. If you'd like to suggest a video that could help the community, feel free to message me on X or Instagram. We also share short videos on Instagram, so make sure to follow us there. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you, and might even create a video based on your suggestion.